Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. Welcome back to another Players Unknown Battleground episode. And this episode, I'm going to go ahead and give you my first reaction to this. This is probably my 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th game playing, and I want to go ahead and go through and give you my first early impressions of it. This game is actually fairly difficult to actually get a grip on. If you're used to DayZ or you're used to playing Arma, then you shouldn't have any trouble with it. But for those of us who aren't used to playing those games, this is actually a new feel to that genre of hide and seek type gaming, where you're in the culling and you're trying to kill other players. Now, I've gotten at least some sort of a hang of it. I know where not to go. I know kind of where to jump out at. I know to look when I'm jumping around at, other players. When I first went ahead and dove into it, and as you're going to see, this is probably one of the luckiest jumps that I've done, and I'm going to pick up a bunch of really good stuff. But this is probably, not going to be the norm for most people, and as you can see, I'm stupidly wearing a big red shirt, which is basically a sign that you should probably kill me. But this is this game I actually really like. This is not, it is your typical DayZ Arma type game. I can't say that enough because it feels just like it's basically a mod of that game. And but this puts a whole new spin. It's probably the best battleground game when it comes down to it. I mean, there's no crafting in it like you have with the culling, but the sheer amount of people that are able to be in one game and the sheer amount of things there are to do, the entire area to explore, and the time limit that it gives you actually gives you a sense of urgency. It's super intense. There are a lot of things about this that are super intense, as you're going to see. You're constantly in fear of being shot. You got to think strategically and think on the move while you're out there, because you could get shot by somebody who has better weapons. And that's the thing too, is you have to think about every engagement that you're going to take part in, because if you're just running and gunning, you're going to end up finding that you're going to die a lot if you don't, think strategically. Like, I am holed up in this school here, and I'm kind of a little nervous about going out because I did see a lot of people parachuting in around this area, and obviously this is probably a really great place to find loot and stuff like that. So a lot of people are actually looking for, places like this. And so it's, and it's just one of the things about going and playing, these are basically hide and seek type survival games, and they're very well done. This one especially is well done, even in early access. And one of the things that I enjoy about it is just that intense feeling. It very much feels everywhere, like when you would go into the dark zone and into the Division or something like that. There's definitely, that air of, there's two things. You're trying to find stuff, or, well, there's multiple things. You're trying to find stuff, you're trying to avoid people, or you're trying to find people, and you're trying to basically avoid the giant force field that's coming to kill you. Luckily with this jump, I was actually able to avoid going and getting into the force field area as it is. As you can see, that white ring is the safe area, and once the timer ticks down, you'll see there's 2 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock here, 52, 51, 50. And when that time reaches 0, the force field starts closing in on that white ring, and it starts closing in the area that you're able to play in. And that makes it also intense, because if you are far away from the white ring when the timer hits 0, there is, there's almost no hope. I mean, you have to run the entire time. There's no, thinking about strategic action at that point, and you're just trying to run away from the thing that's going to kill you most of all. And this happened to me when in one of the previous games where I decided to swim across a lake or a river, and I didn't realize how far it was, and the timer was ticking down. I literally made it inside of the white zone, in the safe zone, right before I was able to get there. And it was, it was heart pounding. I was sitting there trucking away, trying to get to the safe zone, and it was an amazing feeling. It's like, you're just trying to survive at that point, and you see people behind you who are dying because they got to that point, and it's just, there's a lot of amazing things. The things that I would say that aren't that great about this is, well, I don't really, you know, there's a lot of control issues. Some of the shooting, some of the lag is an issue, as I found. Like, I found that there's definitely some frame rate drop, and I'm playing this on a 1080 GTX. So there's definitely some things. The noise, I find that when you're walking normally, it makes less noise than when you're crouching. At least on my screen, that's what it is. And that's, you know, I'm sure there are bugs and stuff like that, but this is a solid game for early access. I'm kind of amazed by it, and I'm hoping, I find that I do think that there's probably too many weapons. Like, almost any building that you go into, you will find a weapon. And as you can see, also the red zone is actually the war zone, which they drop bombs and stuff in there. So you don't want to be caught in there, or at least, you know, you want to find cover or something like that. You need to find backpacks, you need to find armor, and the better the stuff you find, the better you're going to end up doing. And as you can see in this one, I'm going to end up doing fairly well. And I haven't actually been I haven't done horribly. There are usually like these rounds that I'll get into, and what'll happen is I'll end up, you know, I haven't been in the top 30 before. You know, I usually die after, within like between 20 and 30 is when I usually die. And so there's a range, you know, and that's pretty good. I mean, considering there's 90 people or 100 people that are in these matches, you're going to end up being, you know, there's a high probability of you getting killed right away. And that's what happens is when you parachute out of the plane, there are a lot of people who look, you know, they look for the same areas on the ground because they know, you know, kind of the weapons that are there. And for me, I'm looking for, you know, the most secluded places. I'm looking for places where I'm going to survive the most, where I'm going to be able to, you know, at least spend the first couple minutes of the game not having to worry about, you know, other players right away, because you don't want to have to sit there and get into a fight with a handgun and with a high probability that you're going to lose. And this way it allows you to explore a little bit and allows you to go ahead and really just get your weapons and get situated. And you can find some really great weapons, you can find some really great armor pieces, but you know, if you run into players early, you're not going to have that chance. The longer you survive at the beginning, the higher probability are that you're going to make it somewhere near the end. And I've almost made it toward the end, but oh look, you know, and you know, especially like the diversity of weapons that are in the game is pretty cool. I would like to see a little bit more melee. Like, if you're going to put weapons everywhere, put melee weapons everywhere, and put, you know, these high-powered rifles and stuff like the M16, the AKM, the L-Scar, stuff like that, where, you know, they're few and far between, as opposed to, you know, guns everywhere. I mean, right now there are guns just everywhere, and it almost makes melee weapons useless. The melee weapons are actually pretty good because you can actually sneak up on people in that sense, but the footprints or footsteps are really too loud to actually get a whole lot out of those melee weapons. People are going to hear you coming a mile away, and there's no sneak button where you can kind of sneak. And you would think that, you know, crouching and walking would actually give you that ability and not make it louder, but for the most part, it feels like on your screen it's actually being a lot louder. And the instructions need to be a little bit clear. As you can see, I got like a level 2 vest, a level 2 helmet, a level 3 backpack, and those are the highest that you can get right now. And a lot of it's inventory control and stuff like that. You can only carry so much. I'm actually in the red zone, and this is actually, in this round here, this is actually what kills me, is that being in the red zone and the bombs are dropping on the area and I can't hear this guy, and he kind of sneaks up behind me and gets the best of me. But that doesn't happen until after I survive and I get all this stuff. And it's kind of a letdown because I was doing so well. I had all this, you know, I had these really great weapons, and you know, and then, you know, this kind of thing happens where I can't hear anything because the bomb's dropping and because I'm shooting at this guy. But you know, and you'll see that a lot of lag comes into place at the very end here. And, you know, this guy obviously had a much, you know, higher, you know, whatever it was, internet, or, you know, he had a better connection or whatever it was, because I end up, you know, basically not even getting a shot in on him. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in this game that's like that, but that, you know, it's hard to find faults in this game other than the fact that players probably have a little too, you know, and this is, you know, know, maybe they have a little too much hit points or something like that. But, you know, it's neither here nor there. It's hard to find a fault with this game other than the fact that there are too many guns, I feel like, in this game. But, you know, it's a trade-off. And, you know, there's definitely, you know, it's very atmospheric. If you're used to playing DayZ and Arma, then you're going to recognize a lot of the textures, a lot of the terrain, and a lot of the stuff that goes on here. But, you know, overall, I give this game, at least right now in the early access, a 7 out of 10. It's definitely something that I would pick up, and in fact, I already picked it up, so I already have that, and I'm going to be playing a lot more of it, so you'll probably see a little bit more because it's something that you can actually pop in and out of, and the putting stuff on your weapons is so easy. You know, you just right-click it, and it just goes on your weapons. It highlights the stuff that's compatible for you, and there's just, you know, and, you know, I haven't killed anybody yet. Just stick around for this video. I actually kill somebody, don't worry. It's not a complete waste of time, all the stuff that I'm doing, or else I wouldn't show you this video, but it is kind of boring. But, you know, there is a strategic ability for what I'm doing right now, and that strategic ability is that I don't want to kind of give myself away and give my position away, especially I'm in the white circle, and as long as I'm in the white circle, I want to stay there. I don't want to, you know, that's what's going to get you killed in this, is actually going outside of, you know, what you're used to, what you're doing, what you're currently looking at, and stuff like that, because that'll get you killed. Because running out in the open, there are people that are just waiting there. See, I'm looking at that guy because I'm thinking that, you know, that there's, you know, there's players around, and they want, you know, everybody hears you, you know, if they're driving by, and especially like looking at this school, there's a prime target for a lot of weapons. And so, you know, and looking at like strategic vantage points and stuff, I've definitely been killed. And you'll find that, you know, a lot of the tense moments come when you're just trying to wait for somebody in, you know, out in the ordinary. So I would highly encourage, if you're a fan of early access games and you're a fan of DayZ and Arma, or you're a fan of the culling, or you're a fan of a lot of different games, that I would highly recommend picking this one up. Make it, you know, a game that, you know, you play once in a while, or, you know, make it your everyday game. I do find that the progression is actually really slow, and you get really crappy rewards for a lot of the work that you do. I got, you know, the first reward is, you know, it costs 700 coins, and I got a red t-shirt. That was absolutely horrible. Like, why would anybody want a red t-shirt, or just a t-shirt out of a bag after you spend your 700 coins? And they don't give you too many options. I'm sure in the eventually they're going to give you a lot of options here and there for what you can buy and stuff like that with your coins, but for now it's just a box they give you. You get something out of it, and it can be something really good, or it can be something really terrible. So I'm going to go ahead and turn up the sound on this so you can actually hear what's going on, and we'll just go ahead and let this finish out. But I would totally, you know, as this game goes on, it's definitely, yeah, so it's definitely a game that you should pick up. It's definitely a game that I would play a lot of. I'd play with. I'm looking forward to playing with people. Hopefully, Infamous will get it, and he'll be able to play with me, because you know, you can do doubles. You can go in as a group. There's lots of different things, and this would be very cool as a group. And this is something that I wish the Division would actually do. And you know, this is really what survival should have been. Getting dropped in and being the last man standing. I definitely think there's still room for that game mode, and going back and talking to, you know, the developers at Massive, and being like, hey, you know, this is something that you guys should do. Drop people into different corners of the dark zone and let them kind of, you know, be the last man standing, instead of doing like a survival where you have to extract stuff. And sure, yeah, you can have the extraction and stuff like that, but this game really is something that needs to be implemented into the Division, because it would be very cool to have this kind of stuff implemented into the Division, and see, you know, a lot of people really enjoying this type of gameplay. And I understand, you know, looking at the PvP aspect of it with survival, that this is kind of what that is, but this would be so much better if you found weapons, you were able to craft weapons, find weapons, you know, find, you know, body armor, stuff like that, or find even more armor, and really just do something that is a little bit more intense than what survival already is. So anyways, I'm gonna let this finish out and get going, but you can finish watching watching the rest of this video, and hopefully you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe for more awesome PlayerUnknown's videos, and we'll see you guys next time. So for all of us here at Gun Brothers Gaming, I am Mountie Carl, and we'll see you guys in another episode. Mountie out.